part 2 of the Therian Quadropix Paws tutorial. So in our last set we patterned out these pieces and now I'm just tracing them onto the foam. I use a turkey carver, a blade, and a pair of scissors in order to carve the foam. With my turkey carver, I'm keeping the blade straight and I'm carving into the foam. I'd recommend that if you're younger or don't feel comfortable doing this, that you ask an adult for help, and that also when you're doing this, you are being extremely careful and wearing cut-resistant gloves. Here I'm showing that you can do this with the blade by hand if you don't have a turkey carver. It's totally fine to do it that way. I'm going to cut these pieces up to make them easier to manage. And then I'm going to start cutting off larger chunks that aren't part of the pattern. Here I'm using the blade again to refine these shapes down a bit more. The blade is nice because I have a lot more control over what I'm doing, and just like the turkey carver, we need to keep this at a very straight angle while cutting. We want these pieces to be symmetrical on both sides because later we are going to cut them in half. Now I'm using the scissors to take these shapes down even more, make sure everything is symmetrical on both sides. These are the wrist pieces. We need to create a recess for the wrist to fit into these pieces. So I'm first giving myself a guide by tracing out how big I think those need to be, and then I'm using my hand carver to carve in a little slit. You don't want to carve too deep with these because we're going to be carving into them later. Now I'm using my scissors to deepen that and make it flush with the edges. Next we're going to bevel these edges to make them rounder. And now that gives us a good bulk to the wrist. Makes it look less human. So now we're going to cut these toes in half. I mark a guideline, and then I just take my little hand blade and cut them in half. I'm test fitting everything to see how it looks, and I think it looks pretty good.